everyone. Welcome to this webinar entitled APPload, Revolutionizing the Digital Platform in the Time of This activity is organized by the Ateneo de Naga University Center for Local Governance in coordination with the Graduate School Master in Public Administration and Master in Business Administration classes. I am a Universitarian of the Ateneo de Naga University, and I will be the moderator for this webinar. This activity is streamed live via the Ateneo CLG YouTube channel and the Ateneo CLG FB account. You'll find the links flashed in our screen, or if not, you can just search Ateneo CLG. With this, I formally welcome our participants and viewers who are streaming live using the platforms mentioned. Not only those from Ateneo de Naga University community and those based in Naga and its outskirts, but those coming from all parts of the country and the world. Before we formally start off, allow me to give you the guidelines for our registered participants. So this online event is open to public with free registration. This webinar can be accessed, as I mentioned earlier, via the Ateneo CLG YouTube channel and Facebook Live for registered and non-registered participants and viewers. For registered participants, kindly leave a comment, "I have registered," present on your preferred viewing platform for your attendance. To raise your queries, comment them on the platform you are using. We highly encourage to post in your questions while the presentations are being done. As your moderator, I will be acknowledging your questions and address them to our speakers after the presentations. We'll be releasing the link of the online evaluation form at the end of this webinar. Please note that we will only be issuing e-certificates to those who have registered with confirmed attendance, and for those who will be filling out the evaluation form later, once done with this webinar. So you have to wait for the e-certificate to be sent via email. Let us now proceed. Friends, we have two prominent speakers who will be with us this afternoon to share significant inputs relative to the topic. As we all know, this COVID-19 pandemic, which required us to be in quarantine for us to be safe and protected, allowed us to make use of digital platforms to continue with our respective way of proceeding, both in professional and personal areas. Considering that we are able to engage in face-to-face contact, remote communication to do business and transaction in any type of industry has become an essential means or modality to stay connected with colleagues, co-workers, friends, and relatives. Though we're all geared towards the fall and demand of the first industrial revolution, this global pandemic pushed us to think outside the digital box and to deliver commitments by accessing the digital platforms. It is in this context that we provide you this learning session to give us a wider understanding and perspective on the value of digital platforms, not only this time of new normal, but also looking beyond the post-pandemic solution. To formally start off, we will now have the presentation and discussion of our speakers. They're given 20 minutes to do the presentation, and as mentioned earlier, we shall move to the open forum after the presentation of our two speakers. So our first speaker is Mr. Ferdinand Sia. He is the president of the Naga Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a non-partisan and non-profit voluntary business organization composed of business units and professionals in Naga. He will be discussing with us the implications of this movement to the business industries in providing products and services to our customers. Friends, let us all welcome Mr. Ferdinand Sia. Sir Don?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Ateneo de Naga Center for Local Governance for inviting me today. I would like also to thank Dr. Malu Barciliano. Madam, thank you. And my partner here tonight, I would say the father of a mobile application here in Naga City. I would not, I won't call him father because he's not that old. Mr. Magno Conag. Again, participants, welcome to our discussion. First, my topic is the implication of this movement to the business industry in providing products and services to their customers. First, let me define the definition of digital platform and what we call now the new normal. Digital platform is established device erected on present-day cloud technology that makes the evolution of software or programs easy. It is not the product itself. The services, applications, and solutions on the platform are the products that you, as a customer, will interact with and pay for. So, what is the definition for myself? The new normal, or in our case, life activity after the quarantine in public or workplaces. It means that we should observe the mandatory wearing of face masks, the physical distancing of at least 1 meter, uh, and hand washing and sanitizing stations in public places. There are also restrictions on different industries like transportation, food services that I will include in my uh, opening statement. No. Now, this COVID-19 pandemic does not only affect the business industry, uh, but this affects everybody. This is a matter of life and death, not only for business, but for all sectors. The most important thing to do now is to preserve life, follow the guidelines of the government for quarantine, make sure our workplace is rid of the virus, and be cautious for ourselves, for the good of our family. The new normal in the business industry teaches us to be innovative. We should also be resilient, make sure our company is in good working environment. Everyone agrees that life as we've known it will not be back to normal soon, or perhaps ever. The prospects of the novel coronavirus or COVID-19 lingering until at least a vaccine is found and made available on the global scale will transform the way people live and the way businesses operate. History teaches us that short-term measures taken in response to global crises lead to changes that last for decades. What most of us consider normal has already fundamentally shifted. Many companies has implemented skeletal workforce, and some said that 30 to 40% of its workforce will continue to work from home even after the lifting of the lockdown in Metro Manila and in some other place of the country like Naga City. No? Work from home has been growing trend with the rapid progress in technology allowing people to communicate seamlessly wherever they are. The health crisis simply accelerated this growth, and many employers now realize that many functions in their companies can be done outside of the workplace, from remote meetings to remote hiring. A majority of enterprises adapting to work from home arrangements for their eligible employees may also have the effect of easing traffic congestion and public transport woes in the metropolis. Another emerging new normal is expanded online shopping, like what our good friend Magno is doing right now. Even for essentials such as food and toiletries, supermarkets and retailers need to invest in technology to make it more convenient for customers to shop their goods online. This in turn will help grow the delivery or logistics sector. New players in the delivery services should be allowed by the government to come when the lockdown is lifted. Of course, to compete with first movers like Grab, Lalamove, Food Panda, and of course, our very own hungrily community mart, and pan delivery. This I say because many of the workforce that businesses are used to having uh, are expected to be uh, laid off or should be out of work because of this pandemic that is affecting the economy worldwide. No? So they have to shift to other means of income. The pandemic has also forced some restaurants to innovate by transforming themselves into retailers, which resulted in redirecting their supplies to end users instead to their kitchens as they were disallowed to accept dine-in customers under the quarantine. Selling items from the menu directly to consumers via online transactions will become more prevalent as an income stream and a way forward for good establishments that may struggle to lure the old customers even after the lockdown is lifted. Financial institutions, on the other hand, expect the rapid expansion of digital banking in the wake of this pandemic. The transition from cash to digital transactions will definitely pick up pace. While the experience of physical banking, the customers going to the bank or branch for their transactions will have to accommodate new health requirements such as physical distancing, temperature checks, face masks on everyone, and the frequent disinfection of premises. However, to be able to handle projected surge in online banking, banks will need to invest in technology or upgrade their existing ones. Even the biggest banks saw their computer systems stretch to their limit during the lockdown. With the majority of their clients restricted to their homes and communities and relying on digital banking more than ever for their financial requirements. For instance, a major bank had to plead for understanding and patience from its customers who were having difficulty accessing online and mobile banking services due to the surge in logins and digital transactions caused by the lockdown. Other than beefing up their technology, banks should also expand their reach so as to leave behind micro and small enterprises, especially those in the rural areas, the overarching needs for banks and other businesses alike to find new ways to reach out and serve customers. Reimagining customer experience must happen and it must happen quickly as it could be the only way for businesses to survive in the current environment. For other companies, the new normal will involve increased reliance on contractors for certain aspects of their operations, but doing so without violating existing ENDO laws that prohibit contractors, especially for jobs that require regular employees. Relying on contractors will help cut the cost for companies whenever an unexpected disruption happens. Cutting-edge technologies, especially artificial intelligence and cloud computing, will play a big role in many other changes in the low-touch days ahead. Companies need to embrace this development to survive and to be constantly alert to new realities as the local and global business environments try to find their footing in the aftermath of COVID-19. Experts point out two things that are required of business to withstand crisis: resilience and agility. Many businesses will have to develop these core strengths or risk perishing in this or in the next emergency. Try to imagine having this COVID-19 in the what centuries before. No, we have the Spanish flu. Imagine that during those times we have no internet. We news uh, are only known through the radios, so informations are not as quick as what is happening now. No. Before the COVID-19 crisis happened, let me say this: applications mobile applications, use of artificial intelligence, uh, platforms like Skype, Zoom, or other similar technology are already here. These inventions or innovations has preceded the necessity, but the adaptation of it has been slow. But now we can say with definite certainty that the new normal will be digital. In order for business sector, in order for the business sector to survive with all these government-imposed restrictions and to assure business owners and customers and colleagues remain safe and healthy, we must, we must, as the former PCCI president said, assess, we must act and we must accelerate. The economy has been slowed down by this pandemic. We must restart it by assessing, acting, and accelerating, and we must do it fast. Going digital is a major step. Adaptation and further innovation is the key. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Don. Thank you for that insightful presentation. So in his presentation, he
Hello?
highlighted how business industries and the different business sectors are
Naputol
coping
ba
in
ako?
terms of their
Um,
operations. So two characteristics
Ma'am
are
Malu?
actually highlighted in his presentation.
Okay.
One is being resilient, and the other one is also agility. So he mentioned these two characteristics. Okay, so we shall now move on to the second. One is community mart for groceries, supplies, and goods to households. And this community mart has expanded their coverage in the national capital region, specifically in Quezon City and Pasig. And in line with this, Mr. Magno will be discussing with us the effectiveness of shifting to digital platforms in the course of business transactions in this time of crisis. So, Sir Eddie Boy, okay.
Okay. Hello? Ma'am Malu? Hello? Nag, Nag-brown out po kaya? Okay. Okay na po. Nakabalik na. Okay, sige po. Sige po. The topic that you assigned to me is primarily on the effectiveness of shifting to digital platforms in the course of business transactions during this time of crisis. To respond to this particular theme, allow me to just share a video clip which I will share on the screen now. Uh, Hang on. Ma'am Malu, are you able to see my screen? Okay. Okay. So, this is the fastest way I can possibly explain the topic on how effective this shifting to digital is. So, allow me to play a video, which is our Vice President, Leni Robredo. Okay. Okay. All right. Looks like there's a problem with the audio. But anyway, what you're seeing right now is a video clip of our vice president actually showcasing one of our platforms called Community Mart. Community Mart is an e-commerce platform that's available on Google Play and App Store. In this particular video, our vice president is actually sharing that the public market of Kamuning in Quezon City is already in our platform. And here, she is encouraging everyone to place an order when they want to buy fresh goods like fish, vegetables, and meat through the app. So that's basically what is being shown in the video. Now, the beauty of this particular initiative is that at the time of this crisis, there were many people who actually lost jobs, including the vendors in the public market. They were no longer getting the same amount of sales that they usually get every day. But through the platform, we were able to bridge them directly to to the consumers, to the household. Now, the beauty as well is that when the orders are actually placed, yung mga na-display sa trabaho ng mga TODA, yung mga tricycle drivers, are actually able to have a livelihood as well by becoming delivery persons for the orders in the public market. So, yun po yung pinaka-message nitong video clip that is produced by the Office of the Vice President. So, yun po. So, this is one concrete example of how this new digital platforms is actually able to help innovate, revolutionize our public market sector. Now, just very recently, we actually just opened the Pasig Mega Market in the same platform as well. So people in Manila are able to buy goods also from the public market of Pasig. It was released in the news today with a picture of Mayor Vico. So people in Pasig are quite happy that they're able to access their public market. So yun po yung I would say it's a perfect example of how exactly yung apps, particularly yung community mart namin, is able to help local businesses today. So moving on, what happened during the crisis is actually weird and and very unusual in a way kasi po lumalabas what used to be assets for businesses somehow became liabilities in the age of COVID. And those naman na dati hindi na papansin or hindi nagiging relevant, all of a sudden naging relevant ngayon. To give you an example, if you used to have a big real estate space, meaning to say meron ka pong mini-maintain na let's say a restaurant with about 80 to 200 square meters, lumalabas ngayon, naging liability yung pagkakaroon ng ganun kalaking space. So, for Hungrily, for example, meron pong mga maliliit na restaurants or maliliit na food vendors na based lang sa bahay, but they were able to secure their necessary business permits. As a result, lumalabas, in the age of food delivery, walang masyadong distinction yung restaurant na nasa mall or yung restaurant, quote-unquote, or karinderya na nandoon lang piniprepare yung pagkain sa bahay. Medyo naging pantay in a way sila sa ecosystem ng food delivery. However, lamang pa rin naman yung mga established na restaurants because in our observation, ano pa rin, brand still speaks very strongly in terms of what people will patronize and so on. Second item I'd like to share, marami rin po sa crisis na nangyari ang nagkaroon ng malaking problema sa mga inventory nila, particularly yung mga perishables. For example, many known brands na mayroong mga inventory ng mga, let's say, chicken that usually goes out through dine-in, they were very creative enough to introduce mga what they call as ready-to-cook na goods that you can order via app and can be delivered to you. So that's one example as well of how they tried to evolve. Mm, a third example that I can probably mention is nagkaroon din po yung mga tao ng ano ng clamor for very basic na mga goods. For example, dati po people are only buying 1 kilo of this or 1 kilo of that. Usually, if we buy egg, siguro 6 na piraso, okay lang. However, what we observe sa platform namin is that yung mga independent retailers, for example, a store that sells egg, mabenta sila because yung habit ng mga tao ngayon naging tray na sila bumibili ng mga itlog. Usually bumibili lang tayo ng let's say 10 kilos na rice or 20 kilos na rice. Doon sa mobile app po namin, people ended up buying mga one sack of rice, hindi na tulad nung dating patingi-tingi. So even the behavior as well changed a lot. So the takeaway I think that I'd like to share is basically this. Na-reveal lang po ng crisis na ito na may need talaga for businesses to evolve to digital. And those who were able to adapt fast, evolve fast, when I say evolve fast, I would say probably in the past 30 days, sila yung sa tingin namin nakahabol in terms of survivability. However, I am not saying na forever goodbye na yung pagiging anchored ng business mo sa real estate or sa pagkakaroon ng office space or pagkakaroon ng physical store. Hindi naman. What I see is that 12-18 months from now, magno-normalize na rin naman ito and babalik ng muli yung importance ng real estate, babalik ng muli yung appreciation of a physical restaurant space or a physical retail store. All of these things are gonna come back. What I think will happen, and I think what will work in the very near future is for people to consider developing their existing businesses to have two parts, their online or virtual stores and their physical stores. Before the crisis, lahat ng investments, lahat ng strategy naka-anchor lang sa physical store. But this crisis showed us na kailangan pala is virtual store. 6 months, 12 months from now, makikita natin, these two types of stores are both needed in order to survive in the long term. So makikita po rin natin na grocery stores will start having what we call dark stores. By dark store, it means they will start maintaining operational warehouses. Meaning to say po, if I buy groceries, the grocery store that we see today are the grocery stores that people go to. They pick items and then they put it in their cart. That will remain to be relevant. However, these supermarkets will end up creating a dark store or what we call a warehouse store. Ano po yun? It's basically a warehouse that serves the orders coming from online. Now, what does it mean? It means na hindi po nun kailangang maganda yung loob. Kailangan niya lang na efficient in terms of arrangement ng goods, in terms of ability of their staff to pick items from the shelf, and ability of their personnel to pack and to check out and to be able to deliver. So that's the future that we see. The ending would be yung COVID crisis, pinabilis niya lang yung pag-adapt ng mga businesses ng online. Yun po yung pinaka-major impact, I think, nitong crisis na ito sa yun, the new way of doing things, which is going digital. So yun lang po yung ano. I'd like to reserve more sharing from the questions that probably some of you will be shooting. Thank you, Mamalo. Yes, Mamalo. Hindi po.
Essential that or any need that we or our needs. Okay. So we'll now proceed to the open forum. I'll start off with the questions forwarded to us. And so by the way, for our viewers, for the participants, online participants, so you can now comment, you can now give your questions, reflect your questions on the two platforms that we're using. Okay, so the first one, I'll read the question forwarded to us. So with a sudden shift to the use of digital platforms as the means to communicate and make business transactions, how are the businesses in the Metro Naga coping in this time of crisis? So can we hear from our two speakers? Dawn mentioned this already earlier, but probably you can expound on this. So how are the businesses that we have here in the Metro Naga are coping in this time of crisis? Sir Dawn, then after Sir Dawn, we'll ask also Sir Edilberto to share. Please unmute your microphone.
Sorry, low tech. Actually, yung tanong ng participants, nasagot na kanina ni Sir Magno. Kanina, sabi niya, the question is, how are we adapting to the present crisis, the businesses in Metro Naga? Yeah, so as we all know, businesses are especially during the extreme community quarantine, businesses were forced to stop operations, and only businesses that cater to essential needs are allowed to open in a very limited operations, no? Limited personnels in the workplace and limited clients that are allowed inside the workplace, no? So yun nga, ang nangyari dito sa Naga, businesses adapted through online what you call that, platforms like kung papapansin natin, kahit tanungin natin si Magno, during those times, yung mga hindi naman kasama sa Hungryly family or Food Panda na mga restaurants or other services, talagang nag-enroll or kinuha yung services ng mga mobile application providers, no? So that's one of the adaptation of businesses here in Naga. And another thing, masasabi nga natin, ang hindi lang talaga nakapag cope up at talagang tinamaan talaga ng COVID-19 pandemic is what we call the tourism industry. Kahit nga sa mag-digital man yan or mag-physical, talagang tinamaan sila. So we have to find ways na talagang matulungan din sila. Imagine ang mga hotels ngayon hindi pa rin pinapayagan na mag-operate unless they are catering to OFWs or those customers that were already pre-booked, no? So, and also the frontliners, yun lang talaga yung pinapayagan silang mag-accommodate ng mga as customers, no? As customers or as, ang iba pa nga, talagang free pa. So talagang walang income yung mga hotel industries natin. Pag sinabi natin tourism industries, yung mga tawag dyan, tourism, yung travel and tours, mga travel agencies are also affected, and also the restaurants kasi wala nga dine-in. As we all know, yung mga restaurants are also part of the tourism industry. So sila yung mga tinamaan, ang nakapag-adjust lang, hindi naman lahat, pero yung tinatawag nating restaurant industry, nag-adapt sila through mobile application, no? Through delivery services. Yun lang talaga yung income nila ngayon. So, yun. And other things also, like groceries that cater to online platforms also. Those are some of the adjustments that local businesses in the Metro Naga area ang nakapag-adapt, no?
Mentioned po, Sir Don mentioned the one really affected by the health crisis are those coming from the tourism industry. And so, Sir Edilberto, do you have something to say in line with the one raised, with the question raised?
Okay. Siguro I'll share na lang numbers. Ang nangyari sa amin, so basically we have 3 platforms. One is Tindahang Tapat, which is a sari-sari store, paninda delivery na platform. Pangalawa is Hungryly, which is the food delivery service namin. And pangatlo is the Community Mart, which is the grocery and household supplies and needs na service. Before the crisis, yung Community Mart, parang nasa 5 lang po yata yung stores namin. Pero ngayon, we are already over 50 stores with about 30 plus stores na nakapila pa po sa e-store setup. That brings it to a total of possibly 80. Dati po, sa Naga lang nag-ooperate si Community Mart. Ngayon, nag-ooperate na siya in halos buong Bicol po yata. Legazpi, Naga, Sorsogon, Tabaco, Daet, and because of our public market section, nag-operate na rin po kita sa Quezon City and Pasig City in Metro Manila. So what it basically means is that businesses before were not really that open to adopt e-commerce, but the crisis, let's just say, forced them to adapt. Kaya po lumaki yung store listing namin from 5 to now over 50. Yun po yung kwento ni Community Mart. For Hungryly naman, before the crisis, we were less than mga 80 stores lang po yata kami noon. But today, I think we are over 100 restaurants with about 30 plus po na nakapila para ma-activate yung store nila sa app. Ganun po kalaki yung growth niya. In terms naman po of our sari-sari store paninda delivery, ito po yung medyo iba ang storya. The story is very different in a sense that we had to pause our operation for more than a month after the ECQ, primarily because we had serious problems with the supply chain. Yung mga paninda or yung mga goods po like mga chichirya, mga dilata, sabon, at kung ano-ano pa, that were being sourced from Manila and being shipped to our warehouses here in Naga, medyo limited yung supplies. So we had no choice but to kind of pause the operation as well. Why was that the case? It's also because the factories of the manufacturers were technically closed then for a while. They do not have enough workforce reporting. So the production of all these fast-moving consumer goods were also affected. In fact, the problem is nationwide. As a result po, we were not able to sell enough uh, quantities of paninda items to our sari-sari stores. We were only able to resume mga parang 3 weeks ago lang. So today we're able to supply sari-sari stores already back to normal in all of Kamsur, in all of Cavite, and very soon in Batangas. So yun po yung story ng tatlo. So what President Ferdinand mentioned is actually validated by the experience and numbers that reflect sa aming tatlong platforms. The growth in the restaurants, the growth in the number of businesses na nasa community mart, and the demand that shows in Tindahang Tapat. So, consistent po.
So, salamat, Sir Ediboy. So, the figures that you're telling us all are really reflective of the demand for the e-platforms for us to access the needs, especially this time that we are in quarantine and we're having this health crisis. So, yes, Sir.
To add lang siguro, Ma'am Malu, that's in terms of the number of businesses na nag-move sa aming mga platforms, no? In terms of demand po sa consumer, baka makatulong din ito. The demand for hungry food delivery now is 4 times bigger than the pre-COVID.
Okay, so yun.
The demand din po for groceries and others is 5 times than before the COVID crisis.
Okay, so salamat, Sir Edward. So let's move on to the other questions given by our online viewers. So I'll start with the one raised by a colleague in the university, Sir Ciro Magajon. So how do you secure the transactions done in your platform so as to protect the seller, riders, and the buyers ordering goods? So I suppose this should be answered by Sir Edward.
Okay, we try our best to secure them as much as we can, but in reality, there are challenges involved. The fastest way, there are several ways to secure them, but let me just give you some scenarios na medyo challenging siya. The one of the most secure approach is really to accept payment via credit card. In that way, bayad po kaagad yung binili ng customer doon sa platform. But the reality that we experience is that marami po sa mga stores and restaurants namin ang nagkakaroon ng mga out-of-stock items din. Primarily because they are also affected in terms of supply chain, availability, kulang yung nag-report na tao sa kitchen, kulang yung napamalengke, and so on. So the challenge there was we were forced to prioritize cash on delivery kasi po mahirap mag-refund nung mga credit card payments only to realize na out of stock pala yung mga items na yon. The same is very true po sa supermarket, sa grocery items. So that's we seem that COD was one of the most proven old school way to secure both especially the vendors. On the riders naman po, yes, may case po kami na in order ni Ma'am Malu, but upon delivery, Ma'am Malu cannot be reached or Ma'am Malu don't want to pay for it because she would argue, I did not order this, or and so on and so forth. The good news is, in 100 orders po, wala naman ni isa. In 200 orders, wala pa rin po. In our experience, we have 1 out of probably 3,000 po. Hindi naman ganun kasama ang mga taga-Naga, for example.
The challenges, okay, the downside, you have to make use of the credit card as compared if you have to pay it on cash. So there's a follow-up question. I'll proceed to the follow-up question raised by, again, by Sir Ciro. So I suppose it should be answered by Sir Eddie Boy. So we have noted several cases in other platforms wherein we have riders with products that were already purchased but cancelled by buyers. Yun, na-mention ko na rin po yun earlier. Okay, so there's cancellation of orders. Okay, so how do you respond to this, Sir Eddie Boy?
I'll give you the extreme case. Meron kaming isang kilala na delinquent customer. Hindi ko na i-mention dito ang pangalan. But this is really, really terrible. For 4 times already, this particular customer would order from us, and every time we deliver to her, she would always say, wala pang pera, or wala siya sa bahay na sinabi niyang dito siya i-deliver, nandun daw siya sa kabila. Or pagpunta sa kabila, wala naman daw doon and cannot be reached na. And this particular customer would have done it 4 times in the platform. So we were forced to block the customer and document the scenario so we can file corresponding reklamo kumbaga. Ironically, some of her family members would do the same. They seem to be enjoying playing around with our vendors. So for the question, anong nagawa namin? Sa totoo lang po, nahahassle din kami. And our riders usually go back empty-handed. No collection, naggastos lang ng gasoline, nag-effort lang, tapos wala po. What do we do in this case? We see to it that our riders, yung kanilang cost of delivery, are protected. So we're able to handle that as well. Ang masama lang po is sa part ng vendor. Nagiging return to inventory po yun. Yun po yung sad example. As for our course of action, we basically just compile the incidents and submit it to the local government for proper action din po sa barangay level. So, yun po.
Okay, so salamat, Sir Edilberto. Probably the consumers are not aware that you can trace their numbers and you can really block the consumers. Okay, so let's proceed to the other questions raised in our platforms. From a colleague here in the university, so how about book delivery services? Since students need materials for learning, do you get into this? I'm aware of one where you assisted in terms of the book delivery. Probably, Sir Eddie Boy, you can expound on how we can get into the book delivery services.
Okay po. Same lang po ang treatment namin sa kanya doon sa iba naming products na din-deliver. Yes, we can deliver books. In fact, we have Savage Minds as one of the local bookstore na nandun po sa platform. But if you speak of learning materials coming from, let's say, the university or from teachers to be brought to the boarding houses and residences of our students, yes, that can be arranged naman po.
We have another question here from Ms. Bernadette Azores. So what can you suggest to SMPs on ways to cut costs as they are still struggling to transition to digital platforms? So I think the two speakers can respond to this because they are now migrating to the use of digital platforms. So how can SMPs or what would be your suggestions for our SMEs in terms of the ways on how they can probably digitalize and shift to the use of digital platforms? We'll have first Sir Don, then after Sir Don, we'll have Sir Eddie Boy.
Hello? Yes, hello?
Sir Don, go ahead.
How can we cut costs?
Yes, po.
Okay. This pandemic generally made everything what do you call that? Very economical for business owners. Number one. One example is in restaurants. Of course, we don't have dine-in. So, number one, the electricity cost is are down. The employees, we have 50% or less employees. For example, if you don't have dine-in customers, then you don't need the waiters. So, basically, we only shift. Businesses should only shift from dine-ins to innovate to digital platforms so that they can what do you call that, they can survive in the industry, no? When we say sinasabi nga natin na pag merong crisis, uh, kung ikaw ay negosyante, you need to, the only thing in your mind is how to survive. So how can you survive? So ang kailangan natin, sinabi nga natin, we have to be innovative. We have to seek everything to survive. Kumbaga, lahat gagawin natin para makasurvive. Kung hindi, kumbaga, maiiwanan tayo or magko-close yung ating negosyo. So, one form is this digital technology, and another example is yung mga sa malls or may mga groceries or supermarkets, ang pinapayagan lang ng government for now ay if you have 100 square meters, kailangan lang at least 50 people inside your establishment. So, kumbaga, hindi masyado marami yung tao, so hindi rin masyado marami, kailangan ng people to assist them. And of course, yun ding sa electricity, ang sabi ng government, kung if your establishment will have an air conditioning in your workplace, at least kumbaga hindi masyado yung malamig. So mga 26 degrees lang daw Celsius lang dapat yung temperature ng ano. So gusto sabihin, pag halimbawa mas hindi ginagamit yung air conditioning, mas bawas din yung cost natin sa negosyo natin. Siguro it's one way of also helping business owners to survive by cutting their cost. But syempre, kung papapiliin tayo kung ganito yung situation natin or pre-COVID, mas gugustuhin pa rin natin yung pre-COVID dahil nga syempre mas nakakapagbigay tayo ng employment to others, we can help people, but kaya nga but hindi naman natin maiiwasan yung kumbaga mga tinatawag natin ng mga fortuitous events na nangyayari sa atin. So we have to adapt, we have to kumbaga we have to be we have to adapt to the new normal. Yun nga, sinasabi nga natin, new normal, ganito na. Hindi naman siguro magbabalik yan sa dati. We have to be cautious na sa mga galaw natin. Hindi na talaga katulad ng dati. So, yung cost cutting, definitely nandyan. But, yung tawag natin dyan, yung survival stage. Nasa survival stage pa tayo kasi as sinasabi nga natin, we're only trying to restart the economy. Wala pa tayo doon. Nagre-restart pa lang tayo. Galing na naman tayo sa zero. So, we have to wait to see talaga or to feel kung ano talaga yung new normal, no? Kasi sabi ng new normal, pero lahat sa ngayong stage na to, lahat naman pinag-aaralan pa talaga kung ano talaga yung dapat na new normal.
Sir Don, Sir Edilberto, do you have something to say on how we can get into cost-cutting measures, especially on the part of the SMEs?
The insight that I got is actually what I learned. Well, medyo alam na rin namin kasi to before pa nung pre-COVID. naging tulong lang yung COVID para mas lalo naming ma-explain sa mga businesses how and why they should go into digital. Um, there's only one way actually for businesses to be able to cut on the costs, no? And that is no other than to be able to redesign their businesses or spin off a portion of their business designed for digital. It's the only way to cut cost. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that if you have an existing business during before the crisis, tapos yung business setup na yon, what I mean is yung real estate, yung layout, yung lighting, yung furnishing, furnitures, people, operations, etc. If that same business design is ilalagay mo lang sa e-commerce, it's not gonna work. Primarily because sa e-commerce, saka yung existing businesses mo, they are really not designed to be perfect with one another. As a result, yung cost mo will remain, actually lalabas, it's even more costly. Example, kung restaurant ka ngayon, therefore, kailangan mo nang mag-spin off ng isang wing ng restaurant mo na designed for takeout only. Kung ikaw ay supermarket ngayon, yung current supermarket mo na makulay at maganda, may mga design ang aisle, hindi yon ang pang e-commerce. You have to spin off a mini warehouse on the side na hindi kailangang makulay at maganda, but efficient for picking, packing, invoicing, and delivery or dispatching. If you are a cell phone store, you probably won't need, in the same way, you probably won't need your typical store ngayon. What you probably would need is an experience store, but your real inventory does not need to come from that experience store, but from a different location that is probably just literally a storage lang. In this way, yung cost po sa pag-maintain ng tinatawag kong dark store or for supermarket, take out wing for restaurants, and storage room for let's say gadget store. These are the evolved version of your current traditional store design. Only in this way will you be able to cut on cost. So, yun po yung ibig kong sabihin.
In terms of the operations, so I think that's the one highlighted by our speakers. So I'll move on to the next question. This is from Ms. Rosalina Lopia. So I suppose this is coming from Sally. So what support program can you extend to the local government units to control the prices of products sold by businesses using the digital platforms? Support. I think she's interested to know about the support. So can we hear from Sir Don? I suppose since Sir Don is actually from the Metro Naga Chamber of Commerce.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Malu. Actually, tomorrow we're going to have a meeting with the Naga City Investment Board regarding kasi we're going to redesign also or refocus our programs for the year. Kumbaga hindi naman natin inaasahan tong COVID-19 na to na natatamaan tayo this year. So early this year, if Magno will attest, nagkaroon na kami ng planning early this year na talagang for the whole year meron na kaming tina-target na dapat naming gawin. So we have to, I'm sorry to say, but we have to redesign it and focus more on digital platform and online selling. No, how to help these online sellers and how to help also other businesses transition to digital platform, to having their own digital platform so that they can cater effectively during this pandemic, no? So doon sa tanong mo, ma'am, na how can we help? Oh, so first things foremost, kailangan natin na syempre, we have to legitimize all online sellers, no? So that government can also monitor what they're selling, and also for the protection of consumers also. It's very important that how can you regulate prices if you cannot monitor them? So they have to be legitimate. They have to be legalized. Everyone selling something online should be monitored so that they can be regulated, no? So, yun po yung ginagawa natin. At the same time, we're trying to help them, to assist them maybe with some partners or mentors like Sir Magno and other Bicolano digital platform companies na kumbaga to help other entrepreneurs transition to this trend, no, this digital platform trend, and to help them transition to what is called the new normal, no, doing business in the new normal. Thank you.
We have another question here from Miss Santiago. So this is actually for Mr. Magno, Sir Edilberto. So can Nueca hungrily adopt a digital payment platform like PayMaya? Hear you, sir.
Can we adapt PayMaya po? Yun po ba?
Payment platform like PayMaya. So I'm not sure you're using that already, sir.
The answer po is yes. In fact, we are in talks with just about every single digital payment processing companies, from credit card companies to PayMaya, GCash, etc. Honestly po, ang dami po naming na-receive na proposals to help us na handle digital payments. So the answer is yes. Are we able to adapt? Are we able to utilize them na? The answer is very soon po, baka next week we can already integrate yung PayMaya, GCash, etc. However, hindi lang po siguro, technically speaking, hindi lang po siguro yung real-time charging na process ng mga payment processing. Primarily because, yun nga po, may mga inventory problems din po yung lahat ng vendors namin, including the restaurants. Kaya ang challenge namin doon, especially for credit card, is how do we return or refund in case na yung binayaran nila hindi na po available. So ang alternative po namin ngayon na tinitingnan talaga is yung GCash po, yung PayMaya, in particular yung scan to pay methodology nila. So yes po, yun po. The answer is yes.
Success here in Metro Naga in digitalizing their operations. So in passing earlier, our speakers, both of them, mentioned already on the readiness of the Metro Naga, of the businesses that we have here in Metro Naga, in line with the use of the digital platform. So probably you can expand. So let's have first Sir Ron, and we'll move on to Sir Edilberto after.
Actually, it's not a question of readiness, no?
Because the call actually the need at this time, so we don't have any resort, though of course we are all we have to really be ready in terms of the fire, the first industrial revolution. But I think medyo nauna po ito. Most of the businesses are not that ready, but we have to really cope up in terms of how we can really proceed, as I mentioned earlier, how we can go through with our business transactions, our way of proceeding, because there's no way of getting into the use of digital platform.
For me,
Again, for Sir Edilberto.
readiness po, basically, if you ask me, sa 10 po na nakausap namin na businesses sa Naga in particular, how many were ready for the digital? I would say isa lang po out of 10. The remaining 9 po, they were forced to be ready. In other words, they had no choice. Nung nangyari na po yung crisis, nagmadali din po sila na makapag-prepare ng kanilang business for e-commerce. To be specific, they were forced to they were forced to come up with picture taking, prepare their pricing, come up with digitizing all their SKUs, and so on and so forth. Ang pinaka-challenge po sa kanila, picture taking talaga. Halimbawa po, meron kang supermarket na may 8,000 items, magpi-picture taking ka po ng lahat. And no one was ready. No one was ready.
The sad part of Sir Edilberto. So I was informed that Sir Don's connection was actually cut. So are you still online, Sir Don? Can you still hear us, Sir Don? Are you online? Okay, wala po si Sir Don. Probably we can request.
Mamalu, nawala yung audio mo. Hello?
Are we still online? Okay, so again, our apologies for this technical glitches. So Sir Edilberto is still online. So
Yes po.
okay, so I'll repeat the question raised. So the online delivery platforms are thriving during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, considering that people are resorting to this as a way to access their essentials and needs. Do you see this to be a continuing force even after this crisis, Sir Edilberto?
Honestly po, hindi naman ganun ka, hindi po ako, for Philippine setup especially Naga.
Sorry.
Ang duda ko po, hindi naman talaga mag-shift 100% to online. Ang feel ko po is magkakaroon ng significant adoption to e-commerce and online, but not as significant compared to other first world countries. Primarily because may culturally kasi tayo, we will still we will lalo na po kung Naga, we will still go down dun sa store mismo. So I don't think parang 100% shift Hindi po. Parang finally for Naga, rural areas, magkakaroon na ng significant adoption. But not like what happens sa first world countries na full adoption.
I think that's probably the challenge, Sir Edilberto.
Yes po. You can look at this from a perspective also of the cultural the best cultural example of this is yung mall culture ng Filipino. I don't think you can wipe it out.
Okay. So thank you, Sir Edilberto. Sir Don, are you now online? Can you hear us? Sir Don?
Mamalo?
Good, you're online, Sir Don. So there's another question here, so we still have time. It's 3:15. Okay. So there's a question here. I'll read the one raised by a viewer. Having been having an advance and having been advanced and innovative in your businesses, how can you help assist the local government to at least advance or set up the regular government transactions? So I suppose the two speakers can respond to this. Sir Don, as part of the Metro Naga, would there be assistance that we can provide to our local government unit, or if not, other government or government agencies in setting up business transactions? So I think the question has something to do with on how we can facilitate business transactions using now digital platform.
Actually, we're trying to help the local government. Wala pa tayo sa digital, no? Pero hello. Actually, we're not yet in the digital platform stage, no? But we're trying to get there. We have already what we call the Naga City Business General Business Registry. We've been doing it for 15 years already, I think. And it's a very useful registry, no? Especially during this time of crisis, no? Kasi during the GCQ, when the GCQ started, maraming mga establishments na was required to have their registry. Tinitingnan natin kung talagang what you call that, legit yung business. Kasi may mga nag-a-apply, they're saying that they're from this company just to secure work pass going inside Naga City. So it's a big help for us trying to assist the city to validate and to have them issue their work pass. So kung wala ka dun sa registry ng Metro Naga Chamber, hindi ka mapagbibigyan. Nalalaman natin dun kung if your business is registered this year or last year. Kung last year, so hindi ka pwede makapag-secure ng work pass kasi hindi ka, kumbaga, technically you're not a registered business owner for the year. In terms of yung tinatanong mo kanina kung paano natin matutulungan yung local government to facilitate transaction using digital platform, siguro bukas, isa po yan sa mga pag-uusapan namin ng Naga City Investment Board. We're trying to go to shift to digital, not only because alam naman natin yung movement natin, physical movement, even after the pandemic or this period of ECQ and QCQ, hindi naman katulad ng dati na, nung normal times, nung before, yung pre-COVID-19. So, yung mga iba, tulad ng mga senior citizen, na may mga business owners na, ay, may mga business owners din na hindi naman talaga, kumbaga, malaki yung negosyo, sila pa talaga yung nag-aasikaso ng mga negosyo nila, na kailangan talagang pumunta rin sa mga negosyo nila, kailangan din ng tulong na, kumbaga, mas mapapadali sa kanila kung may digital platform in securing permits or securing transactions in LGUs, no? So not only that, they can also monitor their businesses when they're even not physically inside their establishments, no? Owned establishments. So siguro we're trying to get there. We're trying to partner or to help or kasi Ma'am Malu, in order for businesses to blossom, no, or to be dynamic in one, kumbaga, in one area, there's always collaboration between the local government and the business sector, no. Hindi pwedeng aasenso yung hindi pwedeng maging effective yung local government without the help of the business sector. You know naman, lahat ng government funds, lalo na dito sa Naga City, talagang ang karamihan ng funds natin are coming from the business taxes that the business owners are paying, no, every year. So we have to collaborate, we have to sabi nga nila, we have to innovate din yung city government hand in hand with the business sector through the local chamber of commerce and industries na, kumbaga, to adapt and to adapt to this new normal, no? Thank you.
Bali po, parehas man kami ni Donning Standoman. But the idea kasi talaga is, bako man, it's not only the businesses that is actually forced to evolve, let's put it that way. Even the local governments are also forced to evolve as well in terms of how they do their business transactions with the businesses. Since you're talking about this, how the local government can evolve, I probably must relate. I probably must mention this already. E-commerce looks good now because of the crisis, but there's also a bad side to this. I probably should mention this now because this might be enlightening, especially for those na MBA students in the group, no. Before the crisis, actually, Miss Mamalu, may mga local businesses po na actually affected na ng e-commerce. If you look at e-commerce now as the savior, before the COVID crisis, in a way, e-commerce was also the business killer, I would say. For example, meron ka pong shop sa isang lugar. Hinawak-hawakan ko yung cellphone, yung Samsung. Tiningnan ko yung price, nilaro-laro ko yung phone. But I did not buy the phone doon po sa physical store mo dito sa Naga. I bought it somewhere else through online. So where was the revenue? Where was the sale done? It wasn't in the physical store in Naga. It happened online. As a result, the physical store in Naga did not make money. What made money is the e-commerce platform. This is the reason why you will notice may mga stores po tayo na nagsara na even before the COVID crisis. Primarily because yung on-site selling nila is humina na. Hinawak-hawakan lang yung mga demo units nila pero binili yung model na yon online. So, even before the crisis, may challenge po dito sa LGU perspective din because when these stores are closing, you will lose business taxes as well. You will lose employment as well. So yun po yung ano no. So even the local government must be able to realize this and understand this very well as well.
So some of those questions reflected on our two platforms have been responded to already by our speakers. So time check, it's already 3:21. So before we formally end, can we hear some few words from our two speakers? So in as much that we still want to accommodate those other questions raised by our viewers, by our online participants, we really could not accommodate all. As I mentioned, most of them have been responded to already by our two speakers. So if we can really find other or significant questions, we'll be forwarding them to our speakers and we'll be asking them to respond online and send you the responses via email. Okay, so before we formally end, can we hear few words from our two speakers? So we have first Sir Don.
Hello.
Yes, po, sir.
First of all, I would like to thank again the Ateneo Center for Local Governance. Ma'am Malu, thank you very much. My partner today, Magno, thank you. And of course, all of the participants, all of the viewers in YouTube and in Facebook. I would only leave a very short statement. No? So one famous proverb says that necessity is the mother of invention. No, ang necessity is a mother of invention. Sinasabi po natin yan kasi po tayo rin po na may mga utak. Sabihin nga natin, the brain always lasts for innovation. No? Every day it's only up to us if we will or if we can apply it to good use. We can invent several things. The mind is always lasting for new ideas, everything. In this way, we can invent anything, but it's up to us how to apply it in real life. No? So sinasabi natin, marami tayong naiisip na sa tingin natin magiging kailangan in the future, pero hindi naman tayo kumbaga parating swerte, no. Sinasabi nga nila, merong nagsasabi na itong taong ito si Don his invention was ahead of his time. Pero kaya na halimbawa kung pero ngayon yung naisip niya nangyayari na. So ang basically I'm saying na pag merong krisis, yung mga hindi natin napapansin na meron na pala tayo or kumbaga invented na available pala sa atin, hindi lang natin alam. So it's always been an experience along the years na ang invention always precedes the necessity, no? So we are very lucky na during this time meron tayong mga inventions na ganito, mga digital platform na, and several applications and several digital artificial intelligence na meron tayo ngayon. Kasi kung sabi ko kanina, kung nagkataon na try to imagine na nangyari ito nung Spanish flu nung panahon, lahat ng mga napapakinabangan natin in terms of information guidelines from the government, nalalaman natin in a click of our cellphone, no? Pero before They only listen to radios. Ang problema, government before should be very, very careful na hindi katulad ngayon na kahit minsan nagkakamali na yung government papalit-palit ng statement or papalit-palit ng guidelines, okay lang kasi nakikita natin mabilis natin malaman through social media. So, imagine before, kung ganito yung nangyayari. So, marami na sigurong patay. Siguro meron na third, fourth, fifth wave. So, so
Um, my take is basically if you've heard of the yung sa Chinese or the Eastern concept of Dao or flow, it applies to this particular crisis we are facing now. Meaning to say, just about every situation, whether good or bad, it always asks us to flow. And when we are able to flow, what is there to really fear about? Our biggest challenge today is anchored actually on anxiety, and fear and anxiety that what we used to enjoy, what used to work, seems to be no longer working anymore, and it causes anxiety and fear. This feeling that's very negative is actually anchored on our attachment to the old. But if we only develop this ability to flow, when this crisis happened, you wouldn't really have problems. In other words, someone who is able to develop to be in the flow 6 months, 12 months ago would already somehow be able to see that digital is the way to go. However, many are unable to see this simply because we were so attached to our current ways of doing things. Not actually current, but the the 12 months ago ways of doing things. So now when something like this happens, of course, as Don explained, parang na-force tayo to evolve. And it's very painful most of the time. Yung being forced or no choice because it's already crisis. It's painful, it's expensive. Uh, History tells us it's always the experience. So what I think is the right attitude, not only for this crisis, but for this crisis and beyond, is for business owners and everyone to learn how to develop being with the flow. In this way, there is really nothing to fear. Whatever is the crisis, whatever change in climate, whatever the political situation will be, anyone who will be able to develop being with the flow will find it easily, like water. Put whatever, bamboo sticks, stones, rocks, everything, it will be able to flow. You can disrupt it a bit, but it will flow. I think that's the general idea. Sorry, my way of looking at things is quite different, but I hope you get the essence as well.
ito na dadaan.
Okay, so I'm sorry for the technical glitches. So this is the challenge of getting into the use of digital platform. So we'll now move on to the awarding of the certificate of appreciation. So allow me to read the citation. So Naga University Center for Local Governance in coordination with Graduate School Master in Business Administration and Master in Public Administration cluster awards the certificate of appreciation to Ferdinand Sia for unselfishly sharing his time, knowledge, and expertise during the webinar entitled APPload, Revolutionizing the Digital Platform in Time of New Normal, held on May 28, 2020 from 2 o'clock to 3:30 in the afternoon, signed by yours truly. Same certificate of appreciation is given to Magno Edilberto Conag III. So we'll just be handing over the certificate of appreciation to our speakers. So again, on behalf of the Naga University Center for Local Governance and the Graduate School, my sincerest thanks to our speakers for sharing significant inputs and also for sharing their time this afternoon. Also, thank you to our participants and viewers for joining us in this online activity. There will be other webinars that we are organizing, so please just wait for the announcement of the National Center for Local Governance. So we are formally ending this webinar. So again, maraming salamat for joining us in this activity. Good day, everyone. So again, Sir Edilberto and Sir Don, maraming salamat po.
Thank you po.